What's up, monkeys? Welcome to the tier list video for release 15. Before we get into the video, I'm going to go over the tiers real quick. We have S tier, which is meta gun. A plus tier, which is a great gun. A tier is like average. B tier is below average. C tier is like situational. D tier is like rarely usable. And F tier, I would just not use it. Alright, with that note, let's get right into it with S tier. Starting off, we have Advocate as S tier. On the Advocate, you're going to want to run Light Stock, Rapid Cycler, and Piercing Rounds. This is just a great overall gun. With credits being easier is the reason this is higher than the last tier list, because you can just get this way quicker in any match. It just does an insane amount of damage. It'll pierce mobs. It's just everything. Alright, that's it for S tier. Let's move on to A+. In A+, we have the Lacerator. This gun is a little bit worse now that credits are easier to get like 500s, but still obviously like one of the best guns in the game. That's why it's in A+. You're going to want to run a heavy stock because it has some pretty severe kick if you run light or no stock. Rapid Slicer. If you don't like spamming left click, you can also run automatic slicer, but if you can, definitely run rapid. It'll increase the fire rate even more. And then Quicksilver. You need to run Quicksilver. It's meant to be a player killing gun all the time. Alright, that's it for A+. Moving on to A tier, we have the Guarantee. The Guarantee is great right now because the meta is Boxer, and a lot of people run Kinetic Barrier on their Boxer, so this is the main counter to Kinetic Barrier. The reason is because chain reaction. So what you do is you shoot the barrier, and it chain reactions to the player, and then back to the barrier. So it'll kill the barrier even quicker, and also damage the player a lot. You want to run heavy stock just because you don't want the hard recoil at the beginning. And Overclock Core is really nice too. Alright, that's it for A tier. Moving on to B tier, we have the Core 47. The whole point with the Core 47 is if you don't like the Lacerator as your 200 weapon, then run this. On this, you're going to want to run Hollow Stock, Rapid Cycler, and Shredder Rounds. Mathematically speaking, Shredder Rounds does more than EM Charge Rounds, and it's better for mobs as well. So just run this. Next B tier gun we have is the Karma. Now, the scopes right now have a bug where it shows like a black scope. If you ever played COD, it's kind of like that, and it just freezes on that. And a lot of other bugs are happening with them too. But I'm not counting that for the tier, so this is without any bugs. The Karma's in B tier. On the Karma, you want to run Ergonomic Stock and Magnetic Slabs. I wouldn't suggest running a scope because it doesn't have really fast projectile speed, so you're going to be using it pretty close, like less than 70 meters, but if you want, you can run an 8x. Don't run a 16 though. Alright, that's it for B tier. Moving on to C tier, we have the Scrapper. The Scrapper is if you really like a close range gun. I wouldn't suggest it because right now people that are playing close range are going to be using Bulldogs, so you'll probably lose the fight to a Bulldog. I would really suggest running Core or Lacerator. Lacerator would be the best option, Core would be the second best, and then Scrapper would be the third best 200 option. But if you want to run the Scrapper, run Heavy Handle, Heavy Slicer because you want a little bit of range. That actually really helps make it an okay gun, and then Quicksilver to do more damage to Prospectors. Next C tier gun we have is the Bolt Action. This gun is pretty good right now because you can run a really close sight. It might get a little bit worse when the sights get fixed, but for right now this is probably the second best sniper in that game. It's also pretty good fire rate, and headshots hit pretty hard with 175% weak spot. I would suggest running Holographic Sight or 1.5x. This gun is really just going to be used super close, less than like 50 meters, less than 30 meters even. And Rapid Cartridge Feeder is really good to get that extra fire rate. And Extended Mag, some people run Hollow Point as well if you prefer the heavier damage, say you're just shooting off like a couple bullets. But you can also run Extended Mag, it's up to you. Alright, moving on to D tier. Now, I wouldn't really use any gun in D tier this patch, honestly. I'm going to name off some of the guns in DNF tier, and then I'm just going to tell you what's a better version of that. So we got in D tier, we have Manticore. Manticore is just the worst version of the Advocate. It's got projectile speeds, you have to lead your shots, so just don't use the Manticore, just use the Advocate instead. You got Detonator. Detonator is okay if you want an explosion gun. It's probably the best thing that explodes right now. But I wouldn't really suggest using it. Not really worth the $800, as you can see. Then you have Basileus. Basileus is just not a meta gun right now because everyone's using Boxer, and using Basileus on Boxer is pretty difficult. You normally want to use it on Dragonfly, but you can't use Dragonfly right now. Next D tier gun is Shattergun. If you want to run Shattergun, run Quicksilver and Reactive Lever. But if you prefer the Shattergun playstyle, just run Bulldog instead, and then you don't even have to pay 500. Next we have is Fletchit. Fletchit is just pointless to run. It does a little bit more DPS, 432 compared to 402 from Scrapper, but it's a projectile-based gun, and it only has like, what is it, yeah, 100 meter per second projectile speed. So when they're like 20 meters away, you're going to have to lead your shot, and you don't want that. So I would just suggest run the Scrapper or the Core. Next we have is Zeus Beam. Zeus Beam is actually semi-viable, but really situational. You need to be able to get a couple shots off. I would suggest Streamline Core Port and nothing on the magazine because these just hurt your stability or your spin up time. This is actually a pretty fun gun now because they fixed it, so it actually has really good stability. Alright, moving on to F tier, I'm just going to go over them really quick. We have the Carla, which is just the worst version of the detonator. We have the Haze, which is just don't use it. The Brute, which is an unusable SMG. It's literally just a bad version of Advo. Reason is the fall off start range is 2000 and the DPS is 400, whereas you look at the Advocate, the DPS is 408 and the fall off start is wherever it is 4000. So you have double the fall off start range, which if you don't know is when the gun starts to lose damage. So it doesn't like immediately drop to like 10, it just starts to lose like a little bit. So don't use the Brute. Next we have is Phasic Lancer. I would not use the Phasic Lancer at all, it does nothing. Next one says Maelstrom. Just use the Shattergun or the Bulldog. I would just say use the Bulldog, don't use any shotgun. KBR, which is pretty fun with triple shot burst mode, if you can hit your shots, but it's just a worse version of the Lassie in the end. Arbiter, which is okay, but it's kind of just a bad version of the Bolty, because it's a lot harder to hit shots with. The Bolty's super easy to hit shots with. Trench Gun, which is literally just a Bulldog if it costs $200. It has like less DPS even. Comrade, I wouldn't really suggest buying the Comrade. It's not even fun. Gorgon's more of a fun gun, and there's not really anything to compare to it. Just use like Lassie, and then if you can't use Lassie, use Core. If you can't use Core, use Scrapper, you know, something like that. PDW, don't use the PDW. It doesn't do anything special. If you want mob clear, then maybe run like Xenotoxin on it, but just use your pistol for mob clear or something, or a Core. And the last gun is the AR-55, which obviously is a starter gun, so it's not meant to do a lot, but it is also in F tier, and it's just a worse version of the Advocate. Alright, that does it for Release 15 tier list. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you in another video.